Hello, guys. Good morning. I see that we already have Kacha Pimentel. Welcome, Kacha. Good morning. We have teacher Alice. So, hello, Flavia. Good morning and welcome. Thank you for being here. So, hi, guys. Good morning from actually a beautiful São Paulo, a very sunny and bright day here in São Paulo. Good morning, Bruna. Good morning, Marcos. Welcome. Thank you for being here. It is so glad to see all of you guys here. So I'm just gonna give you guys a little more time for the other participants to come. So meanwhile, let me get to know you a little better. Tell me where you're from. You excited for the classes? Actually, so maybe some of the classes will start next week. How's your planning? Good morning, Aline. Good morning, Rodrigo. Yes, that's right, Flavia. São Paulo is such an amazing day today. No rain. Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, there's not gonna rain the afternoon. So let's see. And hopefully, the weekend is gonna be as bright as today is. Good morning, Gisele. I'm super glad you're here too. And welcome. Mogi Guaçu, Curitiba. Wow, Abílio, welcome. Santa Cruz do Sul, Teacher Alice. Welcome, Teacher Alice. Thank you for being here. Arapongas, Aline. Wow. Okay. Are you guys excited for the classes to get started? How's your planning? I know we have like so much to do, right? Sally. Okay. If you guys see me like looking at another screen, it's just because I'm following everything that is going on in the chat with my cell phone, which is right over here. So you're anxious, Rodrigo. Yeah. A new year to start, That's a great responsibility. Okay. Very, very, very excited, potentially, right, Flavia, for the classes to get started, for a new year to start, a brand new year. You know what, guys? I'm super happy to be here talking to all of you this morning. We've been through like so much, so many difficult situations, It is so good to be here and see all of you guys. Okay. Let's see. Yep. So 5 minutes gone by. I guess it's already time for us to get the party started. So without further ado, let's get it started then. It's like a brand new year, brand new world. Yeah, exactly, Flavia. Completely agree with you. So welcome everyone. Thank you all for being here. I'm super glad to be talking to all of you. Thank you very much, SBS, for the invitation. It's really good to be here and talking to all of you. So today we're here to talk about new digital literacies, not only teaching, but also learning implications. So let's get a closer look and understand what all of this is all about, So let's get started. So what is your current scenario, guys, in this edutech or in this tech world? Just tell me in the chat, please. So do you feel you're always in this fight with your computer and your computer is somehow just KOing you all the time? Pretty much like this GIF that we have in letter A. It's just a knockout. Or maybe your current scenario with technology is that you just feel you're surfing in this tech wave, learning new things, and absolutely enjoying this tech ride. So please tell me in the chat, how do you feel nowadays, and especially today, concerning this tech scenario? We are in the planning time, we know, so you're planning everything that is going on ahead of us in the classes we are just about to teach. So tell me how you feel. Are you letter A or are you letter B? Lots of B. Wow. Lots of techie savvy people here, right? So B, 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 B for me. Okay. Does letter A work for any of you guys? Do you feel maybe it's KOing you and you need maybe to get to know and understand technology a little better? How do you feel about this? Overwhelmed to be. That's a very good one, Giselle. Definitely B. Oh wow, super techie savvy Vivi. But Inês, B, lots of B. Maybe sometimes, what do you say, Maria? Maria Inês says sometimes letter A and sometimes letter B. Is that what you mean? Because sometimes, like, for some of the days, I feel that I'm definitely letter B, but for the majority of others, I'm definitely letter B. So how do you feel? Willing to learn. That's a very good one, Abilio. I completely agree with you. You know, most of the times I feel that I'm letter B, but absolutely willing and open to learn and potentially get to know more interesting information on technology, you know? I'm super techie savvy. So Marina says she's sometimes A, maybe sometimes B. Yeah, definitely. We know. Okay, so I guess before we move on, we are definitely going to talk about digital literacy. But the thing is, my point is, we got to analyze this word literacy, first of all, before doing anything, because literacy, the word literacy is absolutely a key element for this webinar, you know? And very often when you think about the word literacy, we immediately relate to the meaning, the ability to read and write, as the Cambridge Dictionary here suggests and reads, you know? And of course, this is not wrong at all. But the thing is, what if we connect the word literacy to another word? What if we connect it to the word digital? Would that imply this association that we have now and with the word literacy and digital? Would that imply or suggest the same meaning, which is knowing or having this ability to read and write? Does that really imply really the very same meaning? But now, like, instead of going through and conveying the message, just the ability to read and write, what if we convey the message being able and having this competency, ability, and skill of reading and write on a screen over actual books? And my answer for you is, yeah, in a way, it would convey the same meaning, because in a way we are able to explore this association between these two words into two different perspectives, and they're both somehow related to the reading process. That's why we have this ability of reading and write still in this new perspective, this new whole perspective, you know. So we can analyze the association between literacy and digital when we put them together into two perspectives. So in terms of the reading process itself, and in terms of the language that emerges from this new scenario. Okay, okay, my slides are going, right? Moody literacy. So between these two words, let me just go back a little bit. Sorry, I'm having a little hard time with my slides, with the transition of my slides. Let me go back just a little. Okay, there you go. So between these two words, we got to thinking about those two different processes, you know, the reading process itself and the language that we have, the new language, the new lexis that we have and that emerge from this new scenario. So this is a photograph I actually took from a book of mine, a Shakespearean book of mine, which I happen to love, you know, Onit Not sure if you guys like Shakespeare as much as I do. I hope you do. But the thing is, this is a photograph that I took from a book of mine, which is the Shakespeare's Onit. And this photograph pretty much illustrates the reading process as it is usually done on a daily basis. So when you get a book and when we start reading a book, so it's pretty much done in a linear way, connecting one sentence to the other, conveying, let's say, the meaning that the text wants to convey in this linear way, and going one paragraph at a time on your way through the page. So that's the way we usually read a text on a book, on a real book, on a print material. So my question here is, what happens if I choose to read this very same 148 sonnet from Shakespeare, but on a screen? Would your experience as a user, as a reader, be different? Be any different? How would that be any different? So let's have it a closer look then and compare my reading process on a book and my reading process on a screen, and what changes not only in terms of the reading, but also reading itself, but also concerning the experience. So if you analyze it in details, you can see I extracted the same sonnet from the web, from this website, which is poets.org. In case you want to get to know the Shakespeare sonnets a little better, head to this website, which is a very good one. But the thing is, let's have it a closer look. So if you analyze this print that I bring in this slide in details, you can see users are actually given the chance of making some, let's say, decisions or then on the reading path. So they can choose if they're going to continue reading in a linear way, or if they wish to navigate their way through the hyperlinks that we have in this website, and all of the other many tools that this website offers in order for us to better understand and explore the concepts and look for further information on the text itself, not only on the author, but even on the related works. So my point here is, in a way, reading on the screen and mainly reading online allows you to have some other elements before the text itself. So for example, you can use your social media channels to spread this text that you're reading and start a discussion with your friends on your social media about what you're reading. You may be able to find further information on the author and let's say the very same place of the text it is, because like the text is on your left, and the all information on the writer is on your right. So you can also find very interesting and further information on the author on the same page of your reading. And there's a whole separate link for any further research, either on the author or on the sonnet itself. So in order for you to understand a little more about the context of the sonnet, there's a whole new separate hyperlink for you to go through, and then you can learn more about the sonnet, and find more interesting information on it. You can also have related works from the same author for you to have it a closer look and a better look later on, and maybe get to know the new works from Shakespeare, works that are new for you and that you didn't even know they were there. And of course, in some contexts on the web, when you start reading a text online, you may be also able to find, let's say, chat boxes. So this is very common, happens a lot. Chat boxes for not only amplifying ideas and sharing different points of view between users. So you can comment, leave your comment, and exchange information among everyone who's there. There's also, let's say, hyperlinks that direct you to a wider understanding of specific keywords. So there's a hyperlink for a dictionary, for a Pictionary, or even for a collocations dictionary, So everything that we do online, it's not linear anymore, because like we do have like some choices that you can make over your reading. So it's not linear. You can find your way through your reading process. And you know, one there's even something which is more interesting than the text itself, which is like, you know, everything that we do online is tracked, right? Internet knows absolutely everything that we do on a daily basis. So there's even, believe it or not, there's even paid advertisements on the page to remind you of the television you've been recently searching for, you know. So as internet trackers at pretty much everything that what you do, we also have during your reading process those elements that we're looking for like later on or before your reading started, you know. So there's a whole new perspective, and there's like there are many different choices that you can do on your reading process when reading online, instead of, and especially compared when reading a book, an actual book, you know. So that is the thing. But there's a whole new perspective. There's a second whole new perspective when reading online. And when associating the word literacy, which is this ability of reading and write, to the word digital. And the second new perspective that emerges, in the one that I have to highlight, is the relation that the language used in the digital scenario and the language that emerged from this digital scenario. Because, you know, there's a whole new lexis being used in this tech world, you know. So this is actually an illustration a friend of mine posted just last year. And this illustration pretty much compares the life of a Devi. Dev, I'm not sure if all of you guys know, but Dev is also known as programmers, coders, software engineers, UX. So many different words to describe pretty much the same type of profession, you know. But dev is actually a word, a short word for developer. It's pretty much like a coder. So this illustration right over here compares the real life of a dev with the life of people usually think a dev has. And it's pretty interesting because we have a really understanding, a funny understanding of what people think coders do on the daily basis, but what we actually do on a daily basis. So if you have it like a closer look, you will see specific digital words, elements, and digital, let's say, actions, digital choices that are used in this text as form of a language. So those actions that are actions concerning the digital world, they take the form of a language here in this context. So for example, codar and comita. Do you guys know what that is? Like what those words mean? So not sure if all of you know, but codar is a very specific word we use in the programming world, and it means the process of writing the codes on the web. You know, actually the process of coding itself. And comita usually refers to the process of making, let's say, a set of tentative changes permanent when coding. You know, so as you can see, there's actually a whole new vocabulary and a whole new language system and a language structure that is being used to convey very specific messages in this digital context. So when you take it into account this association between literacy and digital, there's a whole new lexis that emerge from this new scenario, you know? And this new lexis, they not only convey, but also imply a new structure, language structure, to convey specific messages in this digital context. So that is the thing, you know? So this is what I want you guys to think about. Let me give you another very famous example. Everyone says that on a daily basis. I often say it on my daily basis, which is this example. We use it to illustrate when you want someone to be resourceful. So as I just said previously, digital technology got its own vocabulary, and in a way it's on syntax and its own language structure as well. So take the Google engine search as an example. So when you're thinking about the Google engine, we're thinking about something very specific that we use to find information on the web, right? So this is actually an engine. So everything started when this new engine was launched, named Google. And within the time, with the time being, the new digital skills being required every day, turns out the word Google is no longer a noun, no longer just a noun that implies the Google, the search engine. But Google now, it's also an official verb. And this is also according to the Cambridge Dictionary. So if you Google the word Google, right, in the Cambridge Dictionary, you will see it's not only a noun, but also a verb, official verb. And this verb means to search for something using the Google engine. So as it is a verb, it conveys messages not only related to the name of engine and to the name of the tool that it is, but it also conveys the idea of a skill that is developed from these engines and tools, which is the idea, the skills of being resourceful, you know? So there is a wider use and let's say in a way, a wider understanding for the word Google here. So nowadays we can often use it to say someone's got to learn how to be resourceful by using a sentence like this. If you just don't know whatever that is, did you try Googling it? So we say that a lot. Don't you guys say that a lot? Like if you don't know it, Google it. So you will find information about it and you will learn more on it, you know? So that is the thing. So those new words that emerge from the digital scenario, when we get literacy and we get digital and we put them all together, there's a new lexes that emerge, and these lexes are not concerning like the language structure, but it's also concerning skills, concerning competences that we got to learn when dealing online and when reading and using the literacy in the online environment. So that's the thing, you know, so that's the point. So going back to the literacy meaning itself, of course, there's something that revolves around the learning process in a digital way that's got to be understood. And as I said, not only in terms of reading, but also in terms of the language. But you know what? For this session, I want to stick to the second official meaning right over here, which is the meaning I find more interesting and the meaning I want to stick to during this session. And this second one is the knowledge of a particular subject or a particular type of knowledge we know that we have when dealing with the literacy. So, and this is because I want to talk to you guys about the skills. So we are absolutely giving focus here on the skills, on the competences that emerge from this association between literacy and digital. So we are not only talking about the language structure that emerge, but we're talking specifically and more about the skills that emerge and the skills that have to be developed with the students when dealing with this intersection between literacy and digital, you know? So the thing is, I'm very much interested in discussing with you guys the implications, let's say in a way, when dealing with this intersection of technology and literacy. And one sort of overlaps the other in a way, you know? So is the concept of digital literacy something absolutely isolated? Or maybe, let's say, does it encompass a much more complex and wider system of competences, you know? So is the concept of digital literacy something genuinely isolated? Or maybe do you think this absolutely encompasses in a way this much more complex and wider system of many different competences that have to be developed, you know? And the truth is, digital literacy actually encompasses a set of muchas other literacies within itself. So things like computer literacy, things like media literacy, and of course, and never less important, things like information literacy, you know? So let's understand what these literacies have to say and what kind of skills and competences are actually required in each and every one of them. Computer literacy, information literacy, and never less important, media literacy, you know? So let's have a closer look. So computer literacy is the essential knowledge that is actually, let's say, needed to function independently with a computer, you know, with the use of a computer, with the support of a computer. So computer literacy absolutely includes things like solve and avoid problems when using a computer, adapt to new situations, and of course, keep information organized, because like we have to find your way through this digital mass, you know, there's a lot of stuff on the web for us to go through, you know? So we have to keep the information organized in order for you to understand how it goes. So in other words, the general use, when you're talking about computer literacy, we're definitely talking about the general use and the general basic understanding of computers, of both computers, and of course, the technology world itself, you know? So while media literacy works as, let's say, a key element that somehow unlock messages and meanings behind the things that we see online. Pretty much like, in a way, allowing us to be more thoughtful as we create and spread our own messages. So that is the thing about media literacy, you know? Some of the skills that are actually related to media literacy itself are things like decoding media messages, access the influence of those messages on thoughts, feelings, and of course behaviors, because that matters a lot. We know into politics, into like when you have like presidency campaigns, we know how media literacy is important when spreading the message and when conveying messages, and like the messages that are left behind online. So the thing, when you're talking about media literacy, the thing is, in other words, it's pretty much like the ability to identify the many different types of media and understand. So this is the key point, and understand the messages they are sending. So there is a reflection that we gotta do here in order for us to better understand what is the message that is left behind. So that's what media literacy is all about, you know? And finally, but never less important, according to this is a very official definition. According to the American Library Association, information literacy is actually the ability to recognize when information is needed and have the ability to locate, evaluate, and use effectively the needed information. So when you're talking about information literacy, it's pretty much like, it's basically the knowledge and the skills related to the search, actually to the process of search, access, and dissemination of information on the web. So in a nutshell, computer literacy refers to the general use of computers and technology, while media literacy refers to the, let's say, ability to identify many different types of media and understand the messages they're sending. And finally, but never less important, information literacy refers to the many set of skills required by a person to find, retrieve, analyze, and of course, use the information on the web. So, and together, when you put them all together, we have a better understanding of what digital literacy is all about, you know? So digital literacy is actually a broad term, a wider term, used to encompass a full range of, let's say, cognitive, social, emotional competences that include the use of images, texts, many different types of media, digital tools, online engines, and many different types of technologies, So it's also the skills. So when you're talking about digital literacy, it's this broad term that encompasses the many different types of skills of critical thinking and analysis in this digital world, and when dealing with all of this new media. So you can also call digital literacy, in my very opinion, and not sure if you guys agree with me, but you can also call digital literacy as new literacies, digital multiliteracies, and why not 21st century literacies or 21st century digital literacies. So, but the truth is, in my very honest opinion, this is always going to have to be in the plural. So as the title for this webinar suggests, because we are definitely talking about digital literacies, we are talking about a whole set of competences that we have inside of this broad term digital literacy. So that is my point when dealing with this intersection and concerning what we have between digital and literacy. And the thing is, so in this sense, when taking into account this context, we are no longer considering the reading process itself, as only the word literacy implies, but the reading process on a screen over actual books, and we are definitely considering all the many great sets of skills that allow us to go digital. So when you're talking about digital literacies, when you're talking about skills, we're talking about competences that need to be developed by both teachers and students in order to go digital, in order to go online and understand how this new edtech world and the technology world really works in the real life. And you know what? I love theory. I'm all head over heels. But the thing is, we also have to analyze how technology is actually incorporated on a daily basis and in the real life. And based on it, let me get to know you guys a little better and understand how you guys currently apply and make use of these many, many skills and tech tools on your daily basis. So I'm going to give you now 10 different sentences and 10 different situations, and you got to choose, and especially you got to tick the ones that are true in your reality according to your way of dealing with the technology, right? So please tell me in the chat how many of those situations are true in your reality. You just count them, you tick them, and you count them, and you let me know in the chat. So let's see how many you get at the end. So number 1, I remember less than 2 or 3 phone numbers belonging to a friend or family. Is that true to your reality? Number 2, I order groceries through apps. So you potentially use a lot of many different apps in order for you to do the things that we do on a daily basis. There are 3 or more screens in my room just right now. So we absolutely take it into account not only your phone or your computer, but also TV, all of those screens count. So to be honest, I use internet abbreviations in daily conversations often, laughing out loud, especially on social media, on Instagram, or when leaving a comment on social media, for example. I have subscriptions to 2 or more streaming services. Please be honest. Like, we do have many different types of streaming services, right? Which is super crazy because like we don't have enough money to pay for them all. So the next one is I have an app that helps me exercise or maybe sleep better. Is that true to your reality? I have an app that helps me keep track of my finances. Most part of my bank issues I do totally online and using an app, including paying bills or maybe transferring money that you do on your daily basis. I have more than 5 tabs open just now in my browser. I can absolutely relate to this one. I always have more than five tabs open in my browser, always. I would generally be lost without Google Maps. Oh, this is super interesting. Would you find your way on the city without Google Maps? Especially when driving, would you find your way? Remember what we used to do in the past? That we had like those maps, those real print maps material in your car, and use it like to stop the car. You just pull over the car, analyze the map, and find your way through the city. So, would you be able to find your way in the city without using Google Maps, especially when driving? So tell me, count them and tell me in the chat how many you got. So I see Giselle says three or more screen. Ah, sure, definitely. Giselle, I completely agree with you. I actually have like a television right over here. I have like my phone, which is here, and I have my computer. I absolutely have more than three because there's another television in my back. So Bruna says all of them. So this is super interesting. Bruna, I relate with you in a way, Bruna. So Abilio says two screens. Maria says all of them. Maria, Bruna, and I, we know you're super techie savvy. Six for me. Fabiana says six for me. Google Maps and Waze are lifesavers. I completely agree, Fabiana. I wouldn't be able to live in the city, especially in a huge city like Sao Paulo, without having a Google Maps or a Waze app installed on my phone. Definitely. How about you guys, others? How many have you got? Most of them. Sylvia says most of them. Very interesting. I guess the same happens to me. We know. I absolutely tick most of them. Okay, what else? I guess you guys are super techie savvy, actually. Absolutely. Kacha says six. Wow, six is actually a very good number. So let us analyze what that means. So if you got from 6 to 8 out of 10, so that means even though we're very much bombarded with the screens and technology just everywhere we go, you guys are actually you can actually stand tall in the stack world, and hopefully you got your feet on the ground. So that is the thing. The thing is, if you got from 6 to 8, you like technology, you make use of it, you perhaps like most of the, not most, but a great part of the things that you do on a daily basis, we use technology and you depend on technology, but you absolutely have your feet on the ground. This is done in a very, let's say, in a way that is healthy for you. So technology might have a slight hold on your life, but and you would probably survive a blackout longer than a lot of people. Oh, that's crazy. A blackout for me is super crazy. So, and in case you got 9 or in case you got 10, which is pretty much like my reality, you're absolutely an addict. So large chunks of your life would come to a grinding halt if your screens were taken away from you. So that's pretty much what happens to me, we know. As a bit of a confession, I cannot lie to you guys. So the thing is, I'm super addicted to technology. You're definitely super plugged in and maybe a super techie enthusiast. So that's pretty much what happens to me. And I see that most of you too, not only me, but also Luciana, she says most of them, Sylvia, Bruna. So we are all in the same boat, guys. Okay, so the thing is, uh, when I was actually absolutely preparing for this webinar and preparing for this session, I came across this article Forbes published just last October, pretty recent article, and it says how to prepare students for the jobs we will have in 2030. Very interesting articles Forbes published. So this article absolutely highlights a soon to be future in terms of how jobs, and not only jobs but especially competences, because this is the thing that I want to talk to you guys about today, the competences required. So It says how the future jobs will require those new competences and how those new jobs are going to be like in 2030. So it reads just part of it, So let's see how it goes. Likewise, colleges and universities must adapt and reform the education system to help students survive and thrive by helping them gain skills that are relevant to the modern workplace. So while knowledge-based learning in the classroom is still important, Gallup report indicates career-relevant learning is becoming increasingly critical to students' well-being and future career success. So this is super interesting. We know you're no longer talking about knowledge-based learning, but you're talking about career-relevant learning. So it goes. One of the relevant skills crucial for the future career success is the ability to work side by side with artificial intelligence, machine learning, and robotics. So the future workplaces, regardless of which industry you're in, will eventually settle into intimate working relationships with artificial intelligence technology. So we have already witnessed the trend in many professional fields. So this is the interesting thing. We know those new competences that are actually required, not only in terms of knowledge students will have. So we are no longer talking about knowledge and information, but you're talking about like many different new competences that emerge from this new society and emerge from this new digital world that people have to develop in order to survive and in order actually to find very good jobs by the year 2030. This is super interesting, especially when we think about how these multimedia platforms help actually our students amplify the engagement, making learning more interesting and making learning in a way more transferable to many other different areas of their lives, not only in the school, but also at home, whatever they do at home and on a daily basis as someone who belongs to a society, But the thing is, unfortunately, not everything is as bright as we wish. And we got to face this many real challenges that we have in the real world in order for us to move forward. So unfortunately, there are some figures I extracted from a IBGE search based on the Brazilian students' reality and their use of digital media overall. So I actually extracted these figures from the educa.ibge.gov.br website, and it reads more than 34 million people in this age group, which is 10-year-olds or older, do not have a cell phone device, and more than 39 million Brazilians aged 10 or older did not use the network some months before the pandemic started in Brazil. And the last quarter before the COVID-19 pandemic worsened in Brazil, more than 12 million families did not have access to the internet at home. And those figures, in a way, they show us the enormous size of challenge of digital inclusion in Brazil. Not only in Brazil, not only in our country, but especially worldwide when you think it about many other different countries, So we got to face this reality. And this other reality that we saw in Forbes article published just last October, as I presented to you guys earlier on, seems to be in a way so much far from the figures I have just given you from the Brazil scenario, And to be very much honest with you guys, this is actually a situation where the technology race, this technology competition is so very far ahead from what the education can barely keep the pace and can barely keep the track of this technology race, And I'm actually not talking about here, I'm not giving focus on owning a computer or owning a cell phone. I'm not talking about having a computer or having a cell phone. I'm focusing here on the development of these many necessary and basic skills that are needed and that are required when dealing with technology in the real world in terms of classes and in terms of education, because chances are students, when they go out there in the real world, those competences are going to be required. They need to have those competences developed on their way through their school, So this is my point. So in order to avoid an even bigger increasing gap between those who are privileged and have not only access to the internet, but also have access to these many tech tools, and those who are in a way left behind because they lack the skills, or in this case, even the means, not only the skills, but even the means to adapt, because they don't have like those mobile devices, even those basic mobile devices. So in order, thinking about this increasing gap, and in order to try to avoid, so this is actually a try, in order to try to avoid this gap to get even bigger, the BNCC brings a whole new competency demand on technology, focused especially on technology and focused on information. And again, it's not about having or owning a computer or owning a cell phone. Here, we are talking about the development of competences that are required and that could be done with the students in the classroom. So we are absolutely talking about the development of those many necessarily and sometimes even basic skills that are needed on a daily basis. Competences and skills like collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and things like the ability to both find and select information when going online. So that are things that we are able to do in order to try to minimize, in a way, let's say, this increasing gap where technology races so much ahead, and education in a way is falling behind. So in this context, it is important to remember that incorporating digital technologies in education, it's not about, let's say, using them for the sake of using. It's not about using them as a means or as a support to promote learning or spark a student's interest. But it's actually about, let's say, and in a way, help students build up their own knowledge and learning how to effectively use and articulate in a way these many digital tools in a way that is not only real, but it's in a way that makes sense to their reality, to what they're living and how they're living, So I also have to mention the work that we do here at Cambridge. And at Cambridge, we are always very much interested into research. We know this is something that we absolutely do on a daily basis. So that's why we have incorporated and developed a whole new life competences framework, which is the conflict, which stands for the Cambridge Life Competences Framework. And this framework has been created in response, let's say, to those many different teachers who have asked us to find a way to better understand how those different approaches to life competence actually related to the language, to the English language programs they have in their schools. So the thing is, this framework of life competences actually describes how these many different life skills can be developed and vary across different stages of education as learners not only grow, but as learners find their way through while in the school with us, And of course, we do take it into account when developing this framework, a very specific foundation layer, which is called digital literacy. So this isn't just everything we do in all of our materials. So there's a whole new digital layer which is developed in the material that we produce and the things that we do here at Cambridge. So for example, this is a new launch that we have. Not only, this is actually a secondary course. We have Onit, which is in its British version, and Shapeit, which is in its American version. Super recent course that we launched globally, if I'm not mistaken, and if I'm not crazy, last year. So we launched this last year. And this is a very good example because not only Onit, but also Shapeit offer a very complex and a very detailed work on collaboration and communication competences, which are very much linked to this digital literacy foundation layer, this layer that I mentioned in the previous slide, you know? So in practice and on a daily basis, we want students and teachers to work their way in the development of those competences in a way that is not only more organic, but in a way that makes more sense to their reality, because we're definitely working on projects and using those projects that not only Onit but also Shapeit offer, and we can like use those projects as a scenario to develop those new competences, you know? So there's a new whole component that we created and crafted last year, which is a digital component for Onit and Shapeit, which is called the Digital Collaboration Space. So this is an online environment when students collaborate totally in a digital environment. And we have like those many different tasks and processes of a project being delivered in this digital collaboration in online space, you know? So this is super interesting. In case you want to get to know more about both Onit or Shapeit, write me an email. I'll give you guys my email address later on. And in case you want to find like more specific information about those titles and those courses, just head to cambridge.org/Onit or cambridge.org/Shapeit. And chances are you will have like super interesting information about them. Okay, so I hope you guys have enjoyed this session as much as I did from the very bottom of my heart. I love talking about technology, you know. And Rodrigo asks, do you have anything for high school? Absolutely, Rodrigo. Write me an email. So this is my email address, and I'll help you out and give you more info, you know, about high school courses. So I absolutely hope you guys have enjoyed this session as much as I did. I love talking about technology. Actually, this is my second graduation, my second bachelor's degree. I hope you guys have a wonderful and a nice Friday and an even better and wonderful weekend. I see you guys.